Joachim Roden, hey. It's just drunk people. Okay, hang on. Just gonna sit down here, I think. Okay. I'm just gonna be here until they're gone. These stupid dogs. Okay. I'm used to that. What? Drunk people everywhere? Okay. Mahmoud. I don't even know how to do that. Okay, I don't know how do we share the screen? Yeah, the area is filled with them. Oh man, drunk people, man. I mean, I can have fun with drunk people. But I don't have to drink myself, you know. I drink a beer maybe or two, or most of the time just say, hey, I'm going to drive everyone. And people just give me like free drinks and, you know, gas money. So it's a win-win. I can also have fun without destroying my liver. Okay, so actually I don't know how to go live. I guess you have to ask or something. No worries. Wait. I don't know how to do it. I'm sorry. I've never done it. I think you have to ask or something. Like I've seen people asking me to go live together. So Saudi is cutting oil supply. What do you think that? I can answer that. So you don't wanna share the screen, or I just don't know how to do it. I don't know. I've never done it. I don't know. I can answer that. I'll just answer in the chat. I don't know how to share screen, to be honest. Yeah, me neither. Okay, you know what? Okay, I'm just gonna do the classic. Let's just do the classic Q&A thing. Okay, so Saudi Arabia. Okay, where to start? All right, so OPEC or Saudi, they need oil to be at $80.20, I think, to break even. They need oil to be at $80. The last time I checked this morning, oil was at $72. On Saturday, they decided to cut production again. That lowers supply and increases the price. The thing is, energy markets are being fucked with by the West. So right now we're in stagflation. Nothing what you see in the markets right now makes sense if you look at the fundamentals. And whenever markets are moved by emotions, which they are for the most part, it's always short-lived. Sure, you know, if you made some money in your tech stocks and the S&P since the beginning of the year, good for you for timing the market. However, stagflation is not the environment to be in tech. And commodities should, especially natural gas, it should go to at least be at $5, and oil should be at $120 right now, just based on the demand. It's the highest demand ever. Fundamentals are hyper bullish, and yet it's down. So it's down because, unfortunately, commodity markets, as of now, are the battleground for the West, aka the US, to fight BRICS. That's it. The BRICS nations, like Saudi Arabia and Russia, are energy exporters. They make the money with oil and natural gas. Of course, to hurt them, you want those to be low. On Saturday, when Saudi Arabia announced the 1 million barrels per day production cut, the response of Biden was to dump more of the strategic petroleum reserve. So they're actively, are they using paper contracts that don't back the actual commodity? They're doing all types of shit. So, yeah. So this will continue. This will continue. The US will continue doing that. I never expected them to be so stupid. And but because this is happening since almost a year now, since last year of June, commodity prices went down because of the recession narrative. Surprise, surprise, the recession didn't come, just like I said. Just like I'm saying for almost a year. And now, they're just going to come up with some other excuse to short more oil and gas on behalf of Western governments. This will continue, and until either people are super pissed and riot, because they will realize when they actually need energy, they will realize that there's no energy actually, like that they have been lied to, that the energy they're talking about, the electricity, doesn't exist. Maybe because they're freezing during winter, or now energy demand during summer is highest. Or until suppliers had enough, which I thought Saudi Arabia and OPEC would do something else than just cut production. But when they say, you know what, enough is enough, we're going to make our own commodity exchange. And until then, this bullshit will continue. Also, a byproduct of artificially lowering energy prices, or crucial commodity prices, is shortages. Oil rigs are closing down. Energy companies are laying off people. Price is a signal. If price is low, that sends a signal to the markets that there's no money to be made, and supply goes down. And then, when summer hits, or winter hits, or whenever the time comes when you need that crucial commodity, there's not going to be enough supply to support it. So it's like a rubber band that they keep extending, and it's gonna flick back to their face. So, but I can't tell you when. You know, if I could know the future, I would play the lottery. But I can't. So that was a long answer, huh? All right, fight for good. Give me money. Do you need money? Like, are you homeless or something? Have you heard China cut off trade with US? What? Completely? You talk about stagflation, but unemployment is so low. Well, it's in the name, right? So you have high inflation and you have a stagnating economy. Unemployment is low, yeah. I've talked about it for months. We're not going to enter a recession with full employment, are we? You're absolutely right. But during stagflation, it's in the name. With a stagnating economy, you know, it's going to be like this. Maybe go down, maybe go up a little bit. And you're going to have inflation. Also, about the inflation, inflation didn't magically appear because of AI. So now AI is like the cool kid in the hood, and everyone's and now everyone's investing into tech stocks and meme stocks again, because the good times are back, baby, because of AI. But yeah, we'll see. Yes, completely. China's new trade partner is South Africa. Joachim Broden, I don't think China has the ability to cut off trade completely with the US. That equals a declaration of war, basically, if they did. That's a nice side product of capitalism. When everyone benefits from each other and everyone trades with each other, there's less wars. So I'm gonna check this later, but I don't think, you must have read something. They're trying to completely cut off trade. Oh, okay. So I don't know. Maybe you can send me a link or something later. I can check that. But yeah, they're probably are trying. But if they would cut trade with the US right now, it's I think it's 26% or something of their exports. That's not good. If I was China, before cutting off trade, I would sell my treasuries, my US treasuries. You're saying capitalism makes less wars, lol. Yes. Yes, it does. Imperialism, American, Western imperialism, exploitation of what you're talking about, it's nothing to do with capitalism. Mahmoud says, so basically they can't lower interest rates because inflation is so high. So if you lower it, if they lower interest rates, it doesn't matter, because interest rates, you have to have interest rates above the inflation rate for interest rates to make any sense. We still have negative real rates, which is inflationary. It doesn't matter if rates are at 5%, 2%, 1%, 0. It doesn't matter. It might be slightly more inflationary, but there's one thing that's inflationary, and that is treasuries. The Treasury. The Treasury announced that they're going to buy government bonds in 2024. Just like I said. So they can't maintain current rates. So what you do is you offer bonds that the private sector takes or buys, but they can't afford the interest on those bonds, the government. The Fed is just an extension of the government. The Treasury is the government. They're all government. So the Fed's unspoken purpose is to keep the government solvent. So they can't afford current interest rates at 5%, which is a third of the total income, yearly income of the US government. So the Treasury announced that they will monetize the debt. That means that they will buy, instead of the public, instead of the open market buying those bonds, the Treasury is going to buy it. And they're going to buy it with money provided by the Fed. And the Fed, where's the Fed going to get that money from? Where they're going to print it. Monetizing the debt is leading, or will lead, to hyperinflation. Because God forbid we cut spending, right? God forbid. So none of what's happening is deflationary. Random question: what chocolate is better, milk white or dark chocolate? I like milk. You mean like white chocolate? I like white chocolate, but I also like dark chocolate. I like dark chocolate ice cream, but I like milk chocolate, like white chocolate, because you can mix it with coffee, with an espresso. It's good. You can make a nice mocha. I don't see how it makes less wars when the only mover in capitalism's equity, regardless of morals. So capitalism is just nature. Think of a mushroom and a tree. So the tree gets nutrients from the mushroom, and in return the tree gives sugar to the mushroom. They have a mutually beneficial relationship. And same with capitalism. All capitalism is that you own your own capital, and you can like private, and you can do whatever you want with what you produced. So so before the communist revolution, actually before Leninism in Russia, they had shared farms, just like the Bible teaches, right? They shared their output of the farms, and that leads to starvation because not everyone worked equally. They had to share everyone, so there were people that just lived off the labor of people who produced more, and then they stopped producing too because they felt it's unfair. So like, I don't know the exact history, but some czar or something said, okay, enough is enough. They need to have their own private property and grow food. And surprise, surprise, there was no famines anymore, and everyone had enough food. Who would have known that socialism leads to starvation? Like socialism and communism and food, it's like oil and water. They don't go together. But after that was implemented, that those farmers, those simple people could have private property, you had still people that just didn't want to work. And they came up with this great idea of equality and so on. And that's how Leninism was born. And then they created the worker's identity and so on. And that led to the Frankfurt School. And in the Frankfurt School, they said, okay, you know what, this worker identity stuff isn't working with everyone. People in the West are like under capitalism, have too good of a life to unite under one identity. So how can we attack capitalism from every direction? And they thought about that. It's called the Frankfurt School. Look it up. So that's where climate change, feminism, all these like it's based on the Marxist idea to destroy the old and create the new. So they have to find ways to attack capitalism from all directions, and they do that really good, really well. It's working. So wait, let me just sit down, bro. Basil's talking, and I will read your comment just in a sec. Drunksters left. Okay. All right, bro. So tell me what's in your heart. I don't see how it makes less wars. Okay. So basically says no famines among the people that don't starve, lol. Look at all the homeless people in the US. So all the homeless people are a product of capitalism, or are they a product of social laws being pushed, socialist laws being pushed? You know? I don't know. A good example is in Indian reservoirs in Canada and in the US. They have the worst crime rate. They have the highest crime rate ever. And they have basically UBI. Like, it's the lack of capitalism that created them. The homeless people are clearly a work of capitalism. How? How? Because housing is too expensive in San Francisco? Like, let's go over it one by one. Like, if you're talking about housing prices are expensive because of capitalism? No, it's because of the lack of capitalism. Housing prices in big leftist cities, which have the worst homeless problem, are due to two things: too much regulation and boomers mainly, who own homes and they don't want their home value to drop. So I take San Francisco as an example, but I can take Vancouver as an example because I actually lived in Vancouver in Canada for a while. Same problem. Before you enter downtown Vancouver, you have blocks and blocks and blocks of single-family homes. They don't allow multi-family homes. They don't allow apartments to be built in certain areas that will lower the people that live there and own those homes don't vote for that on a local level because they will lower their home value, which is basically all they have. So how's that how's that capitalism's fault? Housing prices are expensive because private investors buy too much because it's a good investment. Yeah, I just explained that. So there's just not enough housing, right? So you have to ask the question, why is not more housing being built? Right? Now he's talking, if you have low supply and high demand, prices are up. So you have to create more supply. But I'm asking you, like, just to do some research in your free time, why is supply not going up? That is not capitalism's fault. Supply is not going up because of regulation. The regulations are awful. Building new houses, going through the hoops the government set to build apartments and so on in San Francisco, Bay Area especially, is nuts. And also people don't want their house value to be lowered. It's not capitalism's fault. Yeah, supply is not going up because of government gatekeepers. Exactly. And then they come up with stuff like, oh, we have to protect the trees and the parks and stuff. We can't build here. Oh, it will destroy my scenery. I don't want housing built here. What, a homeless shelter in front of my house? No. Just push them all into the middle of the city. And then people who don't suffer under that problem, like who are not business owners in the city, who see the homeless problem, they vote for things that they don't see, and they virtue signal. So if there's somebody in the middle of San Francisco getting his business destroyed, or like East Vancouver, there's almost no businesses there anymore. If they complain, oh, you just hate poor people, oh, you just hate. That's the opposite of capitalism. We need more freedom. We need to give people more freedom, less regulation, to build houses and invest. Same as Detroit. I know this guy, he's from Detroit and he loves Detroit, like that's where he grew up and stuff. And he tried to open a shop in Detroit where he grew up. And I can't remember the details, but the regulations made it so difficult for him to open a business in Detroit that he worked from home and he just opened his window, and I'm not sure what he sold. He did business through his window. They shut his business down. So capitalism, right, is private property, private ownership, and more freedom. I see the exact opposite going on. I see bigger government and smaller government. What I see is the problem is bigger government, more regulation, in the opposite of capitalism. So, I don't know, man. And look, I'm not shitting on you. Most people think like you. They don't know necessarily how economics works. They don't know how. It's like not 100% your fault. But I highly recommend you look into it a little bit. Tell me government isn't lobbied. Just curious, not hating. Hang on. So I have to read the other comments too. What markets are you talking about? Okay, supply is not going up because yes. How do you know so much about San Francisco problem when you're in Germany? Because I read a lot. And I took San Francisco as an example because that's like, housing is a big problem there. Like people that have $1 million incomes a year, they work in Silicon Valley, live in vans because housing is so unaffordable. So it's a big problem. That's why I took that as an example, because it's kind of like an extreme good example. You're telling me the government isn't lobbied? Of course it is lobbied. But look, a company or corporation can't enslave you. A company can't put, like, if that's what you're saying, can put regulations in place to kill other businesses without the government. The bigger the government, the more corruption, thus the more lobbies you're going to have. In a free market, this wouldn't pull. Look, I'm a minarchist. I believe in the smallest possible government. I think government should do its, like, I acknowledge that we need a government, that total anarchy is not good, and that a government will form regardless because of human nature. Like, you know, if there's total anarchy, there will be a group of people that will, just conquer everyone and enforce and just say, you know, this is my land now. And that will be the new government. So I acknowledge that no government is not a viable option or not realistic. But I also think that government should be very limited, and that there should be checks and balances of power in government. For example, responsibility and freedom should go hand in hand, and that's not the case. You know, there should be a military, there should be a police, there should be a court. That's what government should be involved in, and everything else, we don't need governments. The government, like what are you saying, government as a solution for homeless people, for anything, is not a solution. All the government does is it takes $20 from your pocket, gives $5 to someone else, and then look what we did. We did great work. That's all the government does. How is that middleman like you see how that doesn't make sense? Look at Singapore, the most realistic capitalist country in the world. They have less homeless people per capita. The average Singaporean has a maid. They have high standard of living in any metric than the US. And who are they exploiting? So, like, none of those classic arguments for socialism are based on reality. They're all based on feelings. Just curious, not hating, okay? Bassler says, of course, investors don't want their investment to collapse. Yeah, that's true. I'm not preaching the opposite of capitalism, brother. I'm preaching fixing it. Yeah, but more government doesn't, you know? I think the problem, as I said before, is the amorality of capitalism, okay? I agree with the smallest size of government. Okay, there you go. But what do you mean? What is amoral of owning your own property, you know? I don't think you're understanding my position properly. Yeah, it's a bit difficult too with text, you know? So, but, what do you mean with amoral? So let's define it, okay? So I actually made a video about this. I'm writing about it in my new book too. I think it's a really good explanation. I've never seen anyone explain it this way except me, actually. So when you have the term socialism, it's such a broad term. By definition, the definition I'm going to tell you, every country is socialist, right? So it's a spectrum with two extremes. So on one extreme, you have capitalism. In capitalism, you own your own labor, and you 100% what you produce is yours, and 100% is your property, and you can decide what you do with it. So you own the capital or the fruits of the labor that you produce. Thus, the name is capitalism. On the other extreme, you have communism. It's in the name, commune. You own nothing. Everything is owned by the collective. Your labor is not your labor, it's a collective labor. It's in the name. That's why it's called communism. And everything in between, by definition, is socialist. So when I say socialism, I don't mean how to explain? Like when I say socialism, I mean everything that brings us closer to the communist extreme. That's what I mean with socialism, socialist policies. So bigger government, yeah? Lobbies exist because of bigger government. Those are all more socialist, more communist. They pull us this way. Less government, less regulation will pull us more this way. More freedom will pull us this way. Capitalism. So, don't get me wrong. So, and I don't see how owning your own labor and whatever. When I make paintings, I paint. There's actually a really cool story I want to tell you. So I know this, I don't know him personally, but I know somebody who knows him who lived in the Soviet Union. So he was a musician, and he was playing on weddings, and he made some money playing on weddings. And a few days of the week, he just didn't go to the factory to work. And then one day the authorities came, knocked on his door, and asked him, hey, why are you not in the factory? Why are you not working? And he said, I'm a musician, and I actually make enough money to support myself, so I don't have to work in the factory, at least not every day. And they confiscated his music instrument, and they sent him to the factory to work. I think that is amoral. I think not giving people the freedom to their own labor is amoral. And taking from them by force via a third party is amoral. So, I don't disagree with your points, that these points you're making are bad and they need fixing. I don't disagree with that at all. But you have to understand that you use capitalism as like this umbrella term to describe a lot of socialism. So all right. Anyways, I think the problem is said before is MR. Okay, I agree with. Okay, I don't think I stand in my position properly. Okay, so Mahmoud says, so what do you think will happen to housing supply in California? Bed supply for next year to come? Yeah, it's not going to go up with more socialist policies. The core of socialism is the abolishment of private property. Yeah, that's a terrible definition for capitalism today. Yeah. So you mean like it got flipped, right? Here's the issue. We are treated as commodities now, since our wages are calculated by supply and demand. Okay? I'm not arguing communism. I'm not communist, or don't have to bring that up. Yeah, I'm not saying you're communist. I don't think you're communist. Like you said, you agree with small government, so I don't think you're communist. Okay, so you're saying wages are calculated by supply and demand. Okay, so I talked about prices earlier. So price is actually the fairest way to determine the value of something. It's the most democratic and fairest way to determine the value of something. If you don't have a price system, how else would you, that doesn't change that we still live in a world of limited resources. So you have limited resources, and with a price system, you know exactly 100% hyper efficiently what people want and what people don't want. That's why capitalism works so well. in capitalism, under capitalism, if you make a product that people find no use in, that they don't want, you will go bankrupt. You have to change your strategy, or you come up with a new idea, and you come up with something that people want and want to give their money to you to use it, or you go bankrupt. Just like in nature, the fittest, the strongest survives, right? So Amazon, for example, grew so big because everyone's using it. Amazon creates so much value to people that they're willingly giving their money, and that company was a success, and the concept was a success. Now Amazon is pretty much unthinkable, or the concept of Amazon is pretty much unthinkable, and Amazon did it. So if you don't have price, how do you want to ration limit resources? Well, you have to ration it. First come, first serve, or maybe people who are better affiliates of your party will have a better chance of getting that thing. Which is why in East Germany, you had to wait for, I think, like 20 years or so to just get a car, because there was no price system. So, just saying, like, what better and fairer system do we have than price? Okay. So what's your prediction for housing? So housing now is going to be like this, but the Fed will stop increasing rates. And eventually they're going to bring down rates, and everyone is waiting for that. Everyone's waiting for rates to fall, which you can see in the yield curve. And then housing will go up again. Everything will go up again because of inflation, especially next year when the Treasury literally prints, when the government pays for its debt with heightened debt. They increase the debt ceiling, right? They piled on more debt, and they pay for that debt with printed money that will flood the markets with money and create more inflation. So Bank of Canada increased 0.25 points today. Okay, they did. Okay, well, you think Fed rate's going to up next week? I think last time you said Fed will pivot and keep 5. Yeah, I think they're gonna keep it, or they're just gonna monetize the debt earlier. Like, I'm still holding the same position. So the government can't afford rates at 5.25%, over 5%. That's like a third of the government's income. So they're not going to keep it that way. So they're either going to pause and pivot, because in July, because they're going to unveil CBDC, central bank digital currency, or they're just gonna monetize the debt earlier. They actually are already. And then when the Treasury buys the government bonds with printed money, it doesn't matter what the rate is. It doesn't matter what the rate is. They can just increase the rates. It's not going to stop inflation. It's going to be... It won't matter. It won't bring down inflation. So, up until the end of the year, yeah. But that's the thing. It's not the fittest. Lots of product offers no value with high price. Really? Price of commodities is okay, but not for people's wages, okay? By the way, are you an economist or a quantitative analyst or consultant or something? I'm neither. You can call me an economist, I guess. But not like it's just something I really like to do and to study and talk about. But calling yourself an economist, like, doesn't mean anything. I went to school. I had some economic classes, but I don't have like a PhD or something, or master's in economics. Okay, isn't the Fed now coming out in July, or CBC coming out? Yeah, that's what the plan is. So they wanna test, as far as I know, they wanna test CBDC in July, and then try to implement it. Price of commodities, okay. Yeah, but look, prices. So look, your wage is a price too, right? So that's what you have to understand. Like you say, oh, the wage is unfair for something. So you're not getting paid for how hard you work, right? You can make holes all day and work really hard, but making that hole doesn't hold much value to people, right? So the higher value of what you're doing is, like, the more scarce your job is, okay, the more money you will earn, the more wage you will earn, right? Let's say you're probably thinking right now, oh, look, these workers are working so hard, and the CEO is making like 100 times that money. Being a CEO is incredibly, incredibly hard. Look up all major companies and how many times they changed CEOs. They change CEOs all the time because they're shit. So being a good CEO is really, really hard. And finding a good CEO, they are very, very scarce. It's very, very difficult. So the price of buying a CEO for your company is very, very high, which is why they have such a high salary. Right? Isn't the Fed now coming out in July, or CBC? Okay. For example, I'm a mathematician. Oh, nice. I won't get paid much because I don't offer value in the present. Okay. But the future value of my work is valuable. Okay, but you didn't do it yet. It is highly valuable to you. Like, being a mathematician means you're smart. And that opens the doors for you for opportunities. Right? But you're like, what you're describing is like a rare earth metal being still in the ground. Like, if that rare earth metal is not out of the ground and for sale, it's not valuable to anyone, you know? Okay, no, say I've done it, but because it's abstract, people don't think it's valuable. Like, okay, so are you trying to find like a higher paying job? Like, are you a teacher maybe, or something like that? I'm sure you, like, just look up. Look, like, this is not about capitalism or anything. Like, this is for you, okay? So look, don't think in terms of oh shit, like, what job should I do? What pays me more? Okay, so I know tons of people that did, they're dentists, they're doctors, but they're miserable. They're absolutely miserable. They're making lots of money, but they're miserable because they never chose what they want to do. And most of us don't. Most of us, we walk through life just like, as children, we learn this. We learn to follow authority and just do what we're told. And unfortunately, most adults today do exactly that. What their parents wanted, what this wanted. So they get degrees that they're not interested in and don't really want to do. And then they're stuck, and they have like a midlife. It's not a midlife crisis, it's like a whole life crisis. So what I want you to do is this, okay? So now listen, okay? You have to, like, just close your eyes. I don't know if you meditate or something, but close your eyes and just think about the things that make you happy. Think about the things that make you happy, that give you joy. But there's a rule. You can't include consumption. Okay? So if your answer is, oh, I like food, I like video games, it's all consumption. what not consumption do you like to do, right? So the answer can't be, oh, I like to travel, I like food, I like to play video games, I like to watch movies. That's not the answer. What makes you happy? Do you like looking into the sky and like, I don't know much about what mathematicians do, but and ask yourself questions and put those into equations to explain the world around you? Do you like the hidden concepts, the hidden language of our world, which is math, and put those into concepts, and then just pin down what is really what you like? Maybe you like creating things or watching things being created. Like maybe you like working with plants and watching them grow because you nurture them. Or maybe you like working with animals. And whatever that answer is, okay. Find ways to do that and making money doing that. Like, for example, if you like to see and learn about other cultures, right? Why don't you become a flight attendant? If you like traveling, why don't you become a flight attendant? I mean, I said traveling doesn't count, but... And then you're a flight attendant, you travel, there you go. Or, so that's what you have to ask yourself. And then think about, okay, mathematics is what I want to do. I like putting things into equations and, and then find something else. Like, do you like helping people? Maybe you could become a teacher. Or maybe you could code. Maybe you could code video games. Coding the physics of video games is the highest paying job in video games. It's not designing the characters or something. It's coding the physics, like the ray tracing, how the physics works. And then you can do that. Maybe you can add a degree, or you could add something with your current degree and then pursue that. Pursue your own happiness. That's why freedom is so great. Freedom is the freedom to do everything you want without artificial constraints. That's freedom. Of course, like, oh, I want to fly. Of course, that doesn't work because the physics doesn't work. I mean, you could be in an airplane, but I mean, like, you can't grow wings like an angel and fly off, like in the X-Men. But that's not an artificial constraint, right? It's a constraint of reality. So, yeah, man. The thing that makes me happy don't make money, lol. I like math, physics, and music, yeah. I have the same problem. Yeah, I'm quite familiar with my job prospects, lol. I'm not saying I'm not getting paid enough, okay? So Mahmoud says, so you think Fed will pivot and drop rates, then inflation will go back up? Yeah, basically. Now what? Fed raised rates back up again? Look, the Fed could raise rates, but you have to understand, it doesn't matter if the Fed raises rates. Okay? Because of two things. So if you have 10% inflation, look, Mahmoud, look. If I lend you $100 on January 1st of this year for 1% interest, how much do you pay me back on January 1st the next year? $101, right? Cool. I made $1, you had money to work with, win-win. What if the inflation is 2%? The inflation is 2%. Again, I'm going to lend you $100 on January 1st. And for 1%. And how much do you pay me back on January 1st the next year? Exactly. You pay me back $101. But there was 2% inflation. That means that the value of the $101 I got as lender is 2% less. That means me lending you money for 1% made me lose money. And that's the same with interest rates. You want to increase interest rates, above the inflation rate to bring inflation down. Otherwise, you have negative rates. And lenders, just like in my example, lose money. So, when we have, by the government's own numbers, 5 to 6% inflation, year-over-year inflation might go down. You have to look month-over-month inflation. The actual inflation is actually more or less double what the CPI shows. We're actually at about 10% inflation for the year. The year is like we're in the middle of the year. Okay, so if you have 10% inflation, it doesn't matter if you increase rates from 5 to 6%, from 6 to 6.5%, 5 to 5.2. It doesn't matter because you will still have negative rates. That's one thing. They increase rates to make you think that inflation is going down because they're raising rates. They want you to think that they have inflation under control. But they know they don't. They know they don't, which is why they need CBDC, and which is why under the table they're trying to monetize the debt. And that brings me to the second thing. When they monetize the debt, which they announced, they're not even hiding it. They said the Treasury will buy government bonds in 2024. I'm pretty sure they already do that because how did they bail out all these banks? But with printed money, right? Then that means they will print money to pay for government debt and flood markets, flood the economy with printed money, which will cause more inflation. So there's no way, there's nothing, like the Fed did not cause the inflation, actually. The Fed cannot solve a problem that they didn't cause. So there's two things. It's getting dark, but let me explain this. The inflation we're experiencing right now was not caused by quantitative easing by the Fed, which many might think. In 2022, when the Fed did more quantitative easing, that caused asset inflation. Asset prices went nuts. That's right? Like the stock market went nuts. The general inflation we're experiencing was caused by the government showering people with money. Stimmy checks, living rent-free in someone else's house, student loan forgiveness. These things cause the general inflation we're experiencing. The Fed can do nothing about a problem that they didn't cause. I'm saying I'm not doing what I want to do, which is, let's say, pure math, because it doesn't pay, although that is still extremely valuable. It's not valuable for people in the present, so it doesn't pay. Yeah. I mean, like, are you happy though? Like, that's the ultimate thing. Like, if you need more money, if more money would make you happy, then you have to find a way to make more money. Okay? But, like, it's like a meter. If that destroys your happiness, or if that lowers your happiness, then you will be stuck in that place, and then you shouldn't be complaining about it because you're happier this way, right? Like, money is not everything. Like, it's just a medium. It's called financial repression. Mahmoud says, there you go. So CBDC will solve all these problems? No, CBDC will not solve the inflation problem. Derek says, QE is an asset swap. It doesn't create money. Money doesn't make me happy, though. The ability to do what I like does. Yeah, exactly. Obviously, you need money to live. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Quantitative easing, okay, to the guy who says it's an asset swap. Quantitative easing is the Fed buying products from the open market, like mortgage-backed securities, with printed money. That's what quantitative easing is. It's printing money with extra steps. So how does the Fed buy these mortgage-backed securities? Right now, where's the money coming from to bail out all the banks? You telling me it's not printed? So, dude, like, look, stop arguing, man. QE changes duration on bank assets. No. So you think Dow Jones will correct or drop? So the overall market will still like during stagflation, like it's not an environment for like speculative assets, right? So those will drop, but assets with value will increase. It's an asset swap from the bank point of view. Oh, okay, that's what you mean. Yeah, but it's still paid for with printed money. They give long-term debt and receive back bank reserve tokens. Yeah, exactly. What do you think of the bank policies of backing up only 10%? I don't know. I never thought about it right now. Once BRICS comes out with their currency, US dollar will fall? Yes. Like, think about it. Like, everyone's using the US dollar just because, like, look, the reason why the petrodollar worked wasn't even like that it was backed by oil or something. Like, that's not the thing. It was the fact that there was nothing better out there. Like, the G7 countries were like the strongest countries at that time. And when the US switched from using a gold-backed currency to a debt-based currency, yeah, that was just the deal with the lesser evil. But if there is a currency coming out now that is backed by a real thing, not dead, by like gold or a combination of commodities, then, you know, why wouldn't you switch? What do you think of the bank's policies of back? Okay, bailout is different, of course. Yeah, it is. How long will stagflation last? The last stagflation lasted a decade. So look, what you have to understand is, it's not like you thinking of in terms of the short-term debt cycle, which I describe in my newsletter and in my guide, right? Like in the link in my bio. Like if you join my Discord, you can actually, if you join the free trial for my premium Discord, it's like a 3-day free trial. There's actually a guide that I used to sell, but you can just download it if you join for free. And it explains how to use the business cycle to invest. And it uses the short-term debt cycle, right? So inflation heats up, interest rates go up above the inflation rate, bring inflation down, and then interest rates go down. Then you have an environment of low inflation, low interest rates, and then you're back at the boom phase of the debt cycle. However, what is happening now is the end of the long-term debt cycle. That's the end. That's how empires ended. Empires ended this way. It's like Weimar Germany, Venezuela, where new governments are created, where wars happen. That's what is happening right now. So, you know, it's gonna last for a while. Okay, so what will USA do if people have US dollar to BRICS? Okay, what will happen is, so the US, for all these years, had the luxury to export their inflation to other countries. So like, let's say Turkey. Turkey has pretty high inflation, and the inflation has to be absorbed by the population in Turkey. So they will feel the full consequences of inflation because there's not enough demand for the Turkish lira. They change it to dollars to pay for whatever they want to pay, creating more inflation. But the US had the luxury that the USD, the US dollar, was enjoyed world currency status, which means that no matter how much money they printed, there was always demand outside of the US for to hold US dollars in treasuries and all that. However, now, like, just imagine all these countries, right? They hold US dollars, trillions. Like the current debt is the debt ceiling, like the current debt is nothing compared to what all these other countries hold. Like Japan, China, all the trillions of dollars of US dollars just frozen in those treasuries, just holding them. The moment they dump those dollars, they use those dollars to buy gold or just rebalance their balance sheets with that new currency, that BRICS currency. Now you have the world economy flooded with US dollars. And all these US dollars will come flooding back into the US, and we will have horrible, horrible inflation. Okay, so basically US will fall if the US dollar is abandoned. Yes, exactly. When demand drops, the price drops, right? All right, guys, so I'm slowly going to end this. It's already dark, but it was a good live stream. But guys, if you want, like, I write my newsletter 5 times a week. You get it on Discord. You can read it every day. More and more people are joining, so thank you to everyone that is joining. If you want my market insights, if you want to ask me questions, you want to learn more, if you want to see the guide or the resources I'm using, and have some exclusive content, please join. Please join. It's a free trial. Link is in my bio. You're like 2 clicks away. And if you don't like it, like, you don't lose anything. So check it out. Link in the bio. Get my market updates every day during the week. And you can discuss it with the group, which are full of smart people, just like you guys. So I'm happy to see you there. The last question, okay? Mahmoud says, what do they do to stop this? AK, they have to stop and go to war? Like what they are doing exactly what they're doing right now. They're fucking commodity prices. They're starting simultaneous wars with everyone around the world. China, Sudan, Russia. And I don't know. Basically, they're holding the world hostage, you know? Don't abandon the dollar or we will, I don't know, throw nukes or something. So to stop this, they're doing everything right now they can. Okay. See you, man. Okay? See you on my newsletter. Okay? Thank you for all your knowledge. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks, buddy. Thank you for your support. Okay? Please always share my videos, okay? If you like my newsletter, please share, okay? Share with everyone, like your friends and family, and just spread the word. You will help me a lot, and I hope I help you a lot to understand the world around you and make good decisions for your life. Right? Okay. Take care, man.